Good afternoon, everyone. I'm C. Ankit Sharma, your income tax faculty for the last session of this revisionary classes. And today is the last topic, chapter number 9. And this is the second session of chapter number 9 that we will cover today. The RTP questions, MTP1, MTP2, then May 2024 question, November 2023 question, and some important test your knowledge questions. And of course, we will deal with the query, whichever or whatever you want to ask, we can solve it in today's session. So before starting the class, I welcome you all again. So first of all, we are starting with May 2024 question. Let me share a question with you. As in the last class, I discussed with you that question number 1, which is going to be the descriptive compulsory question, is definitely from this chapter, chapter number 9, which might be going to ask you to calculate total income and tax with both methods, the default tax regime as well as the optional tax regime. And when there is normal tax provision or optional tax regime is there, you might need to applicable the provisions of AMT also in this case. So that's going to be a huge question to solve in the examination. You can see even that question would be like more than 1.5 pages or might be up to 2 pages. So definitely it will take a lot of time, but just try to solve this question within 40 or 45 minutes. And please try to solve those points in starting, which you know how to solve it. If there is any confusion regarding any point, then please solve that point at last. So just try to find out the points which you are sure, which you are very confident that yes, you know how to solve these kind of points, or what is the exact solution, or what is exactly the treatment of these points. So those points you should consider first in the solution part, and in the last you should attempt those part which you are not that sure. Attempt full question, but please make this strategy that the important point we need to discuss initially. Like you can see in the screen that there are some adjustment in question number 1 of May 2024. And you can see adjustment number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 adjustment we have, except this trading and P&L account. So when you will start solving this adjustment, so if you know how to treat adjustment number 1, solve it, then 2, and then 3. Might be if you are confused that how to treat adjustment number 4 in this point, then please skip that point and you can go forward to solve point number 5 and 6 and 7 and so on. And at the last, you can give the treatment of those adjustment you are not 100% confident. So that will help to score or to get better marks in the step marking procedure. Okay. So we will start from question number 1. One student also asked me in the last class that the solution of test your knowledge question number 15. Definitely we are going to solve that also. But initially, first of all, we are going to solve May 2024 question. Then we will solve November 2023 question. And then we will take MTP. There are 2 MTPs and then RTP. And then we will move on to test your knowledge questions. Okay. So the question number 1, Mr. Sahil, resident Indian. As I always say that in the question, whenever you are reading a question, just mark the important points or important line. You might think that that will be useful in the solution. So of course, if there is a question of calculation of total income, and first of all, what we should check? We should check what is the requirement of question. And the last line is going to ask or going to explain that what exactly examiner expect from you. Now the question says, compute the total income and tax liability of Mr. Sahil. So when we will read the question, so all the information which could be related bill to calculation of income or the tax liability, we will consider that. For assessment year 24-25, if he has exercised the option of shifting out of the default tax regime, provided under section 115 BAC 1A. So that means we have to calculate tax as per optional tax regime. So there is a relief that you need not to calculate one more total income that might be under section 115 BAC could be asked in the examination. So the solution will be little less complex because we just need to calculate the total income as per our optional tax regime. So now we will start reading the question and we will find out those provisions that might be useful for the solution of our question. So Mr. Sahil, our resident Indian, that is important because we have to apply the basic exemption limit as per the residential status and year. So we know that yes, rebate can be applicable in this case because he's a resident and he's under 60 years of age. A manufacturer at Chennai gives the following manufacturing, trading and profit and loss account for the year. So you can see the majority part of this question, in my opinion, must be related to PGBP provision. So here is the proper profit and loss account, etc. has been given in question and we have to solve it one by one. So first of all, we have to take the profit as per accounting provision. So the net profit as per accounting has been given in the question is, you can see 13,56,000. So the net profit as per accounting provision is 13,56,000. First of all, we are finding PGBP income. And in the PGBP revision part, I also suggested that please solve first of all the credit part initially. So by profit on sale of share, that should not be the part of our PGBP income. So what should I do in this case? This 45,000, what should we do with this amount? Should I deduct it from the profit or not? Or should I need to add it back? Or should I leave it and I do not do anything with this amount? So Pooja is saying, yes, it should be deductible because this is a part of my capital gain head, not the part of PGBP. So I will deduct this 45,000. Then we have lotteries net of TDS value. TDS is 4,500. So that means the gross lottery value must be 15,000. The winning from income, the gross income must be 15,000 because after TDS is 10,500. So gross value is 15,000. So what amount should I deduct? Should I deduct 10,500 or should I deduct full 15,000? What should be the deductible amount in case of lotteries? Should it be 10,500 or should it be 15,000? Correct. Abhishek is saying 10,500. Shoaib is saying 10,500. And Arino also saying 10,500. Well done. Because in my profit, actually, how much is included? Only 10,500. So if the gross amount has been written over here, like 15,000 has been written over here, then we are going to deduct 15,000. But in my profit, only 10,500 has been included. So I am going to deduct 10,500 from this information. The next information regarding the credit side is dividend from domestic company 15,000. And we all know dividend is going to be the part of income from other source. So definitely we have to deduct the dividend part also, and that was 15,000. So that was the credit side. And this is the most easiest side to solve a PGBP or total income question if it comprises PGBP or a profit and loss account provision. So that could not be wrong in any way because we all know which kind of income would fall in this head or any other head. Like we know this would be the part of capital gain, and lottery income and the dividend income would be the part of income from other sources. So those income which has been given in the credit side of our trading and P&L account and which should be included under any other head of income, that is going to be excluded from my profit part. Now we will move on to our debit part. The debit part comprises opening stock, okay. Purchase of raw material, no issue. Manufacturing is a expense of business. Wages expenses, of course. Administrative expenses also a part of business. Now, penalty paid. Penalties cannot be the part of our business expenditure. That would be because of violation of law. So 7,000, which is a SGST penalty, need to be added back. Clear? Now GST paid, of course, it's a part of business. General expenses, miscellaneous expenses, loss on sale of share. Again, loss on sale of share, again, it is the part of our capital gain head, not the head of PGBP. So it should also be add back, that is 20,000 rupees. Interest to bank loan, and that is a loan for machinery, and machinery is the part of our business. So we are not going to do anything with this interest portion also. Now the depreciation, and this is depreciation as per accounting provision, and accounting depreciation always need to be add back. So that is going to be add back again. So we have done with the debit and credit side of P&L account. And if you are able to solve up to this much part from a question out of a 15 marks, so technically we are getting at least 3 or 4 marks in this question, or might be more than that. And this is the easiest part to solve. And I believe that 100% of these transactions should be accurately solved in the examination because these are so simple to solve. I accept that the adjustments are always tricky and complicated, but believe me, this P&L part is always very, very simple. And I believe and I trust that you are able to solve the full profit and loss account debit and credit side accurately in the examination point. Okay. Now we will solve the adjustment one by one. The first is administrative charges included 46,000 paid as commission to brother of assessee. Yani we have paid this to our relative. The commission amount at the market rate is 36,000. So the expenditure, which should be only 36,000, but we have paid extra 10,000 to our relative. So in that case, that 10,000 is going to be add back in our profit. The second point, assessee paid 33,000 in cash to a transport courier on 26 December 23. This amount has been included in manufacturing expenses. So what should we do with this 33,000 paid in cash? You should recall, you should think about it, that are there any provision which restrict my payment in cash? Yes, there is a provision which restrict the payment of cash in a single day exceeding 10,000, but it is a case of transporter and the limit is 35,000. Abhishek is saying correct. Pooja is saying correct, 35,000. Arun is also correct that because it is less than 35,000, so it would be completely allowed. And we should not do any treatment of this information anywhere. Clear? Now, a sum of 4,000 per month was paid as salary to a staff throughout the year, and that has not been recorded in the books of account. Now, it is an issue because this point having two treatment. We have paid 4,000 per month to our staff, but we did not record this transaction in the books of accounts. Now, there could be two possibilities, whether it is intentional or whether it is an error. So if it is intentional that these are unexplained expenditure, not undisclosed income, Abhishek, it could not be called a undisclosed income. That point is a part of those provision which have been discussed as a black money, and undisclosed income is different. But this is called unexplained expenditure because you have expended something which has not been explained or not has been shown in the books of accounts. So it would be recorded as your undisclosed income. It could be treated as your undisclosed income. So that 4,000, if it has been treated as your undisclosed income, so that is going to increase your profit by 48,000. And this is going to have separate rate of tax. What is the tax rate on undisclosed income? Okay, chalo, Abhishek will tell. What is the rate of tax we impose on those transactions which categorize as black money? under section 69, 69B, C, D, etc. What is the tax rate upon those transactions? Because in this case, we have to calculate tax also on this. Pooja, your answer is not correct. It is not 78%. Fine. 78% is tax plus surcharge plus cess. So I'm asking only about the tax rate. So the tax rate regarding this is 60%. Absolutely correct. And surcharge rate is also fixed, that is 25%, and then cess, and that will be 4%. So aggregate, you are correct, 78%, but we are bifurcating each thing separately. Tax rate is 60%. So when we will calculate the tax of Mr. So and so, the assessee in this question, so we will apply tax rate on 48,000 separately. Okay. So that is 48,000. That is the amount of black money. Moving on, the next point, bank term loan interest actually paid, that is 31st March 24 was 20,000 and the balance was paid in October 2024. So in case of interest, section 43B says that interest should be paid up to the due date of ROI. And only that part of interest you can claim as a deduction which has been paid up to the due date of ROI. Interest value in the question has been given 60,000. You can see that. Out of that 60,000, only 20,000 has been paid up to 31st March 2024. And balance has been paid after due date of ROI. So balance, that is 40,000 interest, is going to be disallowed. Clear? Now the next information, we have done all these information. Miscellaneous expenditure include 10,000 contributed to Prime Minister Relief Fund. So a deduction under section 80G could be claimed regarding this, but donations cannot be the part of our business expenditure. So this is going to be also disallowed, 10,000 rupees. Next, loss on sale of share represents shares sold within a period of 6 months from the date of purchase. What is the use of this information? We have already added back the loss which has been given in the profit and loss account in respect of shares, that is 20,000. So the information has been given to communicate you that that is a short-term capital loss because there was a gain also in the credit side. So this is a short-term capital loss to inform you that would you able to set off this loss from the gain or not? Because the profit on sale of share represents shares held for 2 years and security transaction was tax was paid on it. So it is a long-term capital gain under section 112A and that amount was, I guess it was 45,000 rupees, which we have, of course, reduced from the credit side. That was given in the credit side and we have reduced it from the profit of our business. Now, housing loan principal repaid during was 50,000 and it relates to a residential property occupied by him. This is the information for income from house property. Is there any information relevant for the purpose of business head? Yes. Now, point number 9 is for calculation of depreciation. So we have opening WDV 12 lakh, asset purchase for more than 180 days and total addition during the year is 4 lakh. That means opening WDV was 12 lakh plus more than 180 days asset value is 2 lakh. Total addition is 4 and out of those total addition of 4, 2 lakh I have already added and that has been specified that those assets were more than 180 days. So balance 2 lakh would be the less than 180 days assets. So now total is 16 lakh. We have to calculate the DAP as per income tax provision, 15% on this value and 7.5% on this value. So that would come, that depreciation as per income tax needs to be deducted. And that would be 2,10,000 on more than 180 days value and 15,000 on less than 180 days value. We would or we should write it in combined value 2,25,000. I have just explained you separately. but you would calculate separately over here in a working note, and then the total value of depreciation you can deduct directly from these values. So after doing all this, we would have the PGBP income 1395500. This would be my PGBP income from the information. Now we have income from house property. The property has been self-occupied as per the information given below. Housing loan principal repaid during the year was 50,000, and it relates to a residential property occupied by him. So this housing loan repayment would be the part of 80C. Clear? Interest on housing loan was 2,60,000. Housing loan has been taken from Canara Bank. Value of the house property is 45 lakh, and 25 lakh was sanctioned 31st March 2017. The amount were not dealt with in the profit and loss account giving, assuming this housing loan is eligible for 80EE deduction. So you can see from this information, we have multiple information that repayment of principal amount is 50,000. That is 80C part. Interest is 2,60,000. Out of this 260, we could claim or we can claim only maximum 2 lakh rupees as income from house property interest value. That would be a loss. Balance 60,000 has been eligible for section 80EE because all the information of housing value, etc., has been fulfilled. And the question itself says that yes, you are eligible to claim deduction under section 80EE. So how much maximum deduction we can claim under section 80EE out of this 60,000? Arun says that 50,000. Well done. Swati, it's not correct. Not 1,50,000. 80EE. 150 is for 80EE. For 80EE, the maximum is 50,000, guys. Okay, correct. So 50,000, and this information we will use in case of deduction. First of all, for income from house property, out of this 2,60,000 interest, we can claim only 2 lakh. That would represent a loss under the income from house property, 2 lakh rupees. Now for capital gain, we have long-term capital gain of 45,000, and we have short-term capital loss that was 20,000. Can short-term capital loss set off against long-term capital gain? Arun is saying yes. Abhishek is saying yes. Yes, exactly correct. Long-term losses cannot be set off from short-term capital gain, but vice versa is possible. So technically we have income, long-term capital gain income 25,000 under section 112A after adjusting this value. Now we have income from other source value. So we have dividend income that was 15,000. And gross winning we need to consider over here. The lottery income need to be considered gross value. That would also be again 15,000. So my GTI after doing all this, now we will solve the provision on a separate sheet. So in May 2024, after PGBP income, house property loss, the PGBP income was 1395500. The income from house property loss was 2 lakh. The capital gain is long-term capital gain 112A. Value is 25,000. An income from other source having two different income. Dividend is 15,000. And casual income, grossing up after grossing up, it would also 15,000. So that would be my GTI. The GTI would be now, after doing all this, is 1250500. Now moving on to the calculation of deductions in this respect. So deductions would be 80C repayment of housing loan, that was 50,000. Then we have 80EE. We have explained total interest was 2,60,000. Out of that, 2 lakh has been used in income from house property. Balance left 60,000, but maximum under 80EE we can claim 50,000. So 50,000 reduction of 80EE we can claim over here, and we have contributed a donation to Prime Minister's Children Relief Fund, something that is 100% eligible amount, that is for donation under section 80G. So that was 10,000. So deduction would be over here 10,000 rupees. So after these deduction, my total income would be 1140,500. Now we need to calculate tax upon this. Okay. So we have total income that is 1140,500. If we can separate out of this income, those income going to be taxed at a special rate, another. So out of this casual income, that is going to be taxable at the rate of 30%. I have to separate that. That was 15,000. Then we have long-term capital gain at the rate of 20%. Sorry, long-term cap gain under section 112A at the rate of 10%. That amount is 25,000. Then we have one more special rate of income, which is what is that income in this question? One more special rate income in this question only. Generally not in normal question, but in this question, there is one more special rate income, and that is undisclosed income. The expenditure, the unexplained expenditure, which is going to be treated as undisclosed income. So that is going to be taxable at the rate of 60%, and that amount was 48,000. And the tax rate is 60% we have to apply. And the balance would be my other income. And that would be 1052500. That is going to be taxable as slab rate. So Mr. A, age 40 years, and he was a resident. So basic exemption limit of 2.5 lakh will be applicable on this income. And after applying that and the rate, whatever it is going to be taxable, the tax would be 1,28,250 rupees. Clear? This is the tax on this income. Now this income tax would be 28,800. And a special rate of surcharge is 25% in this case. That would be 7,200 rupees. So total tax and surcharge in this case would be 36,000. Now in case of long-term capital gain, there is an exemption up to 1 lakh rupees. If the long-term gain relates to section 1128, it would form part of your GTI. But when you will going to tax that income, if that long-term capital gain is up to rupees 1 lakh, then there would not be any tax upon this. So this is going to be exempted because the value is under 1 lakh rupees. So this is not going to be taxable. And this is the rate, 4,500 rupees would be the tax in this case. So we have tax 1, tax 2, tax 3. And because my ATI does, the provision says, because the ATI does not exceed 20 lakh rupees, so AMT provisions are not applicable. So now the total tax value would be 1,68,750 rupees. Normal surcharge would not be applicable because income does not exceed 50 lakh. AMT is not applicable because ATI does not exceed 20 lakh. Surcharge would only applicable in case of undisclosed income, because if there is undisclosed income, then surcharge would be applicable. Fixed rate is 25%. Okay. Now cess would be applicable on all these value together. The 4% cess would be 6,750. So total tax would be 1,75500 rupees in this scenario. But if that 48,000, which has not been included in the books of account, and we assume that expenditure of 48,000 as intentionally done. So if it has been proved that it has been intentionally done, then it is going to, of course, taxed. Then it's going to be taxed as undisclosed income. But if it is an error, then we need to change our calculation. Then we will allow that expenditure as a business expenditure. So my business income, and of course my GTI and my TI and my tax would also going to be changed. Suppose that expenditure, if that expenditure, that 48,000 is treated as error and allowed as expenditure, then what would be the change after allowing those 48,000, which if we have added back, now we would not add that. Now we are going to deduct it from our calculation. So now if we deduct that 48,000, earlier it was add back into the PGBP income. Now the sign will be changed. It would be deducted. So it will give the benefit. And now my PGBP will be after deduction. We are not going to add it back. We are going to deduct it from the value. So now my profit would be 1299,500. And because of profit this change, my GTI after deduction, my TI would be, nothing will be changed except this PGBP income. Everything else would be the same. Deductions, etc. would exactly be the same. But now my TI would be 1044500. And tax would be divided in three categories. Casual income, of course, 15,000. That would be 30%. Long-term capital gain 112A, that is 25,000. That is going to be exempted, of course, not going to be taxable. And the remaining value would be 1004500. Tax on this would be 113850. And this is 15,000. So total tax would be 118350 and 4% cess. 4734. So my gross tax liability would be 123084. But there is TDS also, which has been deducted, that is 4,500. So that TDS deduction can be claimed out of these income. After TDS, the value, if there anything, going to be the final tax liability. So if there is any advance tax has been paid, if there is any TDS has been paid, that needs to be deducted from the taxable value. That was May 2024 question. And now you can see that at least we needed at least 25 minutes to solve this question. And when we are not in the examination hall, and when I am solving it for you. So if I would be a student and this is not the class, this could be an examination hall. In that examination hall, I have to read that question. So you can feel that pressure, that nervousness, it will take more than 10 minutes more, like 45 minutes it would take. And might be you are not able to solve the question like this. There might be a mistake, but let me tell you, the PGBP income should be correct. The mistake could be in the tax calculation part, but the capital gain part is so easy. The house property part individually is so easy. The other source part individually is so easy that your GTI should be accurate. And deductions are also very easy. So the total income, at least the part where total income reaches, those steps should have minimized mistakes. So it might be possible that you are not able to calculate the surcharge on the black money income, or you are not going to tax that black money income at the rate of 60%. That kind of mistake I could accept that it could be possible. As a student, it might be happen in examination because compulsory question is very difficult to solve 100% accurate in the examination. But you can see only in examination that part is difficult. But what is difficult in solving this question till now, like net profit, credit side, debit side, the house property income, the capital gain part, and the income from other source. So you can see the GTI part is not that difficult. That is really, really simple. And if in this question, 15 marks question, if you are able to calculate correct GTI, and even in the examination, the choice has been given that either that 48,000 could be treated as a black money part, or either if you have been solved that question without treating it as a black money, but you have allowed it as an expenditure also. That was also correct. In the suggested answer, it would consider, they considered that both answer would be correct. So even if you are going to solve it, even allowing as an expenditure or explaining it as a black money expenditure, undisclosed income, both answer would be corrected. So in this scenario, I personally feel if you are able to calculate the GTI and the deduction part out of at least 15, you will get 11 or 10 marks easily. So 3, 4 marks will be, of course, the part of tax calculation, but at least you, and in the compulsory question, if out of 15, you are able to get 10 marks, it's a very good score. Let me tell you, it's a very, very good score because that will boost your confidence in the examination. And I also suggested you that, in my opinion, you should attempt this question always at the last. When you have 30, 40, 45 minutes left in the examination hall, then you should attempt this question. That will technically going to help you because when you will solve all the question, of course you are out of the nervousness and you will have confident that you have almost solved like 70-80% marks examination question, and that only 15-20 marks you have to solve again. Okay, next is Swati saying, sir, one problem related to AMT. Yes, question number 15, what we were about to discuss from your test your knowledge question, that include the AMT, etc., all kind of concept. Do not worry, we will discuss that also. Sir, can I take TDS on demand assuming it is after TDS? No. If that would have been if TDS would have been deducted, there would be written directly that is net amount after deducting TDS. So if the question does not mention it, you cannot assume that. Okay. What more query? Pooja is saying that in this we can solve this question. Yes, you can solve this question having one assumption. Either you can treat that 48,000 rupees as an undisclosed income, or you could treat it as an error and you can allow it as an expenditure. That would be an easy assumption. Because in that case, you need not to calculate the tax with a special rate on undisclosed income. Okay, Abhishek asking, sir, how to identify that company does not fall under tax audit and ROI filing dates? Look, in section 44AB, it has been mentioned that those person need to conduct the tax audit. And you can see it's an individual case. Income does not exceed 1 CR. And if that person going to show profit less than 8%, that is presumptive taxation scheme, then it could be a case of tax audit, but that is also not happening. You can see the net profit is higher than 6 or 8%. So that is a case other than tax audit. And in case of other than tax audit, the due date would be 31st of July. So we identify that due date according to these information because there is no tax audit concept has been applicable. Now moving on to next question, that is November 2023. And the problem with this sheet is this, because on this sheet my pen tab does not work. This is some sheet which has been reached. So we have to read the question and then we will solve it. Let me open this question in other sheet. Till that time, you can read the question. First of all, just we should check it out. What is the requirement of question? So this is the requirement. You have to calculate 3 kind of taxes in this question individually. You have to calculate tax as per default tax regime. You have to calculate tax as per optional tax regime. And presumptive taxation scheme also applicable in this case. So, detail question asking you a lot of things in the single question. Okay. So the question says, the Mr. Pramod, a resident age 55 year, is a retail trader. He furnished the following information. For assessment year 23-24, trading and profit and loss account for the year ended on 31st March 23. You can see the sale has been given. The requirement is to calculate three taxes. What they are asking? They are asking compute the total income and the tax payable by Mr. Pramod for assessment year 23-24. If the business profit is computed as per normal provision and he opt for section 115 BAC. Clear? So opts out for section 115 BAC. So you have to calculate tax as per optional tax regime because he opts out for section 115 BAC. Then point 2 is saying he opts to compute business profit under presumptive taxation under section 44 AD and does not opt for section 15 BAC. In the second case, you have to imagine that he is going for section 144 AD. So he would like to declare his income at 8% or 6%, depending upon the information must be given in the question. So that would be his profit. Or the business profit is computed as per normal provision of Income Tax Act. He does not opt for section 15 BAC. So these are the information. The business profit is computed as per normal provision and he opts for section 15 BAC. That means first part is saying if you are going for section 15 BAC, you have to calculate tax according to it. Point number 2, as per section 44 AD. And point number 3, that if he does not opt for section 15 BAC. So point 3 is for optional tax regime. Point 1 is for default tax regime tax calculation. And point number 2 is for presumptive taxation scheme tax calculation. So 14 marks, a lot things has been asked from a student in this question. And you have to answer which option is advantageous to Mr. Pramod. So let's see which option is advantageous to Mr. Pramod. So I have to solve this question separately. You can see the information. The opening stock, purchase, transport charges, sale. First of all, credit side, rent from house property, we will exclude. Okay. Then rent from furniture. Rent from furniture is going to be taxable under which head? The rent from furniture is going to be taxable under income from other source. Abhishek is saying correct. Arun is saying correct. Of course, because it could not be taxed under any other head. It is not my business income. It is not my capital gain income. It is not my income from house property. It is not my salary. So that would be the part of income from other source. And rent from house property, of course, should be the part of income from house property provision. All the sales are by account pay check or through bank transfer. So what is the meaning of this information? Is it useful for us in any context of this question that the question explain that all the sale by account pay check? Yes, Abhishek is saying correct. Because for section 4480, if it has been transferred from bank or via check, so we will take only 6% of that sale as deemed profit under section 4480. So you can see this information is very vital. You cannot apply 8% or 6% by assumption. It has been specifically given that you have to apply 6% in this situation. Okay. The opening and closing stock have been overvalued by 15,000 and 20,000. We will adjust that. If opening stock have been overvalued, that will impact to reduce my profit. So if I will correct it, so my profit will increased by 15,000. And by way of closing stock, I have to reduce the profit by 20,000. I will solve that question, do not worry. Rates and tax include GST liability of 5,000 paid on 1st May 23 and municipal taxes for let out property. So the municipal taxes will go or disallowed from my business expenditure. Administrative expenditure, etc. information has been given. So I will read the question and then we will solve it in a separate sheet because on this sheet, my pen tab does not work. So we will solve it over here. That is November 2023 question. So first of all, as per section 115 BAC, we have to solve. Then as per section 44 AD provision apply. And then as per optional tax regime. As we have shifted opt out section 115 BAC 1A. So the net profit that has been given in question, the specific case was 1046000. Rent from house property was 1,80,000. So I am going to reduce it. 1,80,000. The rent from furniture is 1,20,000. So we need to deduct that value also. That is not my business income. So that was the credit side. Now we are moving on to the debit side. In the debit side, there was opening stock, purchase, transport charge. First thing to add back is depreciation. So depreciation as per accounting provision, we need to add back and that would be 80,000. Clear? Then opening stock adjustment having the effect of increasing my profit by 15,000 because opening stock was overvalued. So it now going to increase my profit and closing stock overvaluation. If I need to rectify it, this is going to reduce my profit by 20,000. Now there was municipal taxes of the property, 7,000 rupees, which has been given in question. Now there is a point number donation. Administrative expenses include 25,000 paid as donation to National Children Fund and a payment of laptop purchased on 15th May 2022 for 60,000 through bank transfer. So all donations going to be disallowed. You can claim the deduction of donation, this donation section 80G, but not under PGBP head. So this 25,000 donation is going to be disallowed. A laptop purchased for rupees 60,000. So the full value has been debited into the P&L account, but we should claim only the depreciation. We cannot claim the purchase value of the laptop over here. So we would add back the full value of laptop and we will claim the depreciation on this laptop. That would be 40%, 24,000. The next information regarding depreciation on trademark. The other information says transport charges 30,000 paid in cash. That 30,000 paid in cash is allowed in case of transportation expenditure. He incurred a loss of 8,000 on sale of equity shares on 10th February 23, which were purchased in 10th June 22. So that information is for capital gain calculation, no treatment in PGBP. Next is depreciation include 1,200 rupees as depreciation on trademark wrongly charged at 15%. So the rate of depreciation in case of trademark is 25%. So you have wrongly charged 15% and claim 1,200 rupees as depreciation. So we will recorrect it. Depreciation on trademark already charged 15% and equivalent to 1,200 rupees. So we need to charge extra 10%. So 1,200 is equivalent to 15. So what is the extra 10% value? That would be 800. So we will charge extra 800. Clear? $1,200 is charged for 15%. The rate would be 25%. So that would be 2,000. We have already charged 1,200. So balance 800 would be the extra depreciation we need to charge. So I guess all the information has been calculated over here. No other information related to PGBP has been given in the question. 146, 180, 120, 80,000, 15,000, 20,000, 7,000, 25,000, 60,000, then 800, and then 24,000. Now depreciation as per income tax also given in question. The depreciation as per income tax has been given because no information regarding the depreciation as per income tax has been given in question. So the depreciation as per accounting would be equal to the depreciation as per income tax, 80,000. So we need to deduct it and then we will have our PGBP income 808,200. Clear? Now income from house property information has been given in question. That rent from house property 1,80,000. For that, municipal taxes have been paid 7,000. So this is my value. 30% deduction, 10 deduction, that would be 51,900. So income from house property would be 121100. Now for capital gain, there was a short-term capital loss. 8,000 has been given in the question. There was income from other source, that is furniture rent, 1,20,000 has been given in question. So that is my income. That is my income. This loss, can short-term capital loss be set off against income from house property or income from other sources or income from business profession or not? If it is possible, then we will set it off. And if it is not possible, then we will carry forward this. So can short-term capital loss be set off against any head of income? Of course, the answer is no. Well done, Swati. Well done, Shoaib. Well done, Pooja. Well done, Arin. It cannot be set off. So this is going to be carry forward. So now my GTI would be in this case, after adding all these income, under section 115 BAC, it would be 1049300. Deduction of section 80C to 80U would be nil in this case, because only 3 deductions allowed under section 80JJAA, CCD2 and CCH. No, these deduction has been mentioned in the question. So that would be my TI would be the same, 1049300. And now we need to calculate tax as per the default tax regime. The tax would be 67395 plus cess. The tax is as per normal assessment year 24-25 rates, 2696. The net tax would be 70091. If we multiple of 10 rupees, the tax liability would be this as per section 115 BAC. Now, if in this question, we need to calculate tax if assessee is going to apply the presumptive taxation scheme. So under presumptive taxation scheme, we need to take the profit as 6% of my turnover. The turnover has been given in question 70,80,000. So the net profit would be directly come. The PGBP income would be in this case, would be directly 6,65,900. Now the deductions has been given in this question for under section 80C, PPF deposit, 50,000. Life insurance premium paid, that is 60,000. Donation for children fund 80G, that was 25,000. Education loan has been taken for the spouse under section 80E, you can claim interest of 70,000. So almost 2,05,000 deduction in this case, and that would be make my TI on 460,900 rupees. So up to 5 lakh, there would not be any tax. So the answer would be nil. There would be no tax in this situation because due to rebate, there would be no tax. The tax would be 10545, and that would be the rebate 10545. So tax liability would be nil. Now, if we do not opt for section 115 BAC, but we opt for optional tax regime, in that scenario, the GTI would be remain the same as section 115 BAC, 1049300. And deduction would be same as section 44 AD, that was 2,05,000. And my TI would be now 844,300. And the tax would be according to it 81,360. 4% cess would be 3,254, and total tax would be 84614, rounded off to 84610. So if we opt for optional tax regime, we have to pay this much tax. If we go for section 44 AD, we do not need to pay any tax. And if we go for section 115 BAC, we have to pay tax around 70,090 rupees. So which is the most beneficial option to the assessee? That would be presumptive taxation scheme. The tax in this would be different under section 115 BAC because that time the rate was different, 2,50,000, then 250, etc. But you can see the other information and the calculations are same. So as per the presumptive taxation scheme, he do not need to pay any tax. So that is the best option under this scenario. So it is beneficial, Mr. Promote, to opt for presumptive provision section 44 AD and not to opt for section 115 BAC. Okay. So that was November 2023 question. Again, if you see the solution of this question, what we have done. So there were three kind of tax calculation was there, but if you will see in very clearly, you can check this that we just need to calculate one total income, that is section 115 BAC. In the second case, there was no calculation because 6% would be your PGBP and other income was already there. So TI calculation is very easy. In case of optional tax regime, GTI was as per BAC, deduction as per 44 AD. So there was no specific or no detailed calculation in section 44 AD as well as under optional tax regime. And again, when we talk about section 15 BAC, you can see the PGBP part you should solve correctly. There is nothing in income from house property. There was nothing in capital gain, and there was nothing detail in case of income from other source. You might be going to solve some deduction wrongly, or there might be a wrong calculation of tax. But even that, a majority part, 75 to 80% part, would be correct if you are able to calculate the correct GTI and TI. So it's very easy to score 75 or 80% marks in that compulsory question also. If you apply the provision one by one, if you are not going to bother about that my tax should be correct, you should bother about first of all that my GTI and my PGBP head and my other heads of income should be correct. So if you are able to calculate the heads of income, if your GTI is correct, let me tell you, you will get a very good marks in this compulsory question, and the fear of this compulsory question will gone away. We have solved May 2024 question. We have solved November 23 question. Then we will solve now MTP and RTP question also. And you will realize that yes, compulsory questions is not that much difficult as we feel when students talks about it, that compulsory question of income tax is very difficult to solve. It's not like that. It's the wrong approach. Because when we see the question, suppose you are going to see this question, suppose what will happen? See, have you seen this question? May 2024. If you will see this kind of question in your question paper, that would be in 3 pages. And you will start shivering that this cannot be solved. ये possible ही नहीं है, मैं solve ही नहीं कर सकता. At that time when you think that मैं solve कर ही नहीं सकता, that is going to be the point where you are going to lose. So be confident. Why can't I solve? I need not to solve correctly. Just make your approach like this. First of all, I have to find out the correct GTI. And let me tell you, it is not that difficult. I am telling you again and again. This is also very difficult that you are able to calculate the correct tax liability. I believe that is not that easy. But practically also, I believe that calculation of GTI and TI is definitely very simple. You can easily find out the correct GTI, etc. So please, whenever you see compulsory question in your examination, do not bother about the complete solution. Do not bother about the tax calculation. Just try to solve up to the GTI level first correctly, then the deductions part, and then think about the taxability. So if you are not bothered about the final answer, you would be really confident that yes, I would be really confident to solve this question up to GTI and TI level. And that means we are at least having 75% to 80% marks in that question. And that's a very huge success in your question paper. I've also explained those small chapters which will cover almost 25 to 30 marks paper. And now I also gave you a trick to solve this 15 marks question. So we are almost covering 40, almost 40, 45% marks question over here. But in September 24 question, suggested answer not available yet. When those will be uploaded, then we will be able to solve that. Okay. Fine. So now we are moving on to our MTP question. First of all, we will solve MTP number 2 question. Mr. Sunil. There is a question in front of you. And these MTP, RTP questions also is just same that could be asked in the examination. Again, you can see this is a huge question to solve. Multiple provisions and you have to calculate the tax liability and in that manner that you can minimize Mr. So-and-so tax liability. So if his TI is going to exceed 20 lakh rupees, then of course you have to apply AMT provisions also in this question. And in my opinion, the TI is exceeding 20 lakh rupees in this question. So we have to calculate tax as per section 115 BAC. We have to calculate tax as per optional tax regime, and then we have to calculate the tax as per AMT provision also. So that is Mr. Sunil, age 48 years, and has furnished the following particulars for the year ended on 31st March 2024. The first information about the income from house property. So first of all, we are solving this question as per section 115 BAC provision. Okay. Default tax regime. Age 48 year and resident. First of all, he occupies ground floor of his residential building and let out first floor for the residential use at an annual rent of 2,95,000. So first part is self-occupied and other part is let out. So it's a good news that this is going to be zero. Clear? The annual value of a self-occupied property would be nil. And the good news, one more that we will discuss in point number 2. And the rent of this property, he has paid municipal tax 25,000, and the GAV in this case would be 2,95,000. 50% municipal tax would be claimed over here because 50% is for self-occupied. So out of this 25,000, 12,500 we are going to claim over here. So that means this income would be 282,500 till over here. Then 30% would be the standard deduction in this case. That would be 84,750. Now the point number 2 is for interest provision. And you can see as per interest certificate from HDFC Bank, he paid 150 as interest and 80,000 towards principal repayment of housing loan. So this is for section 80C. This is for income from house property. Now 1,50,000 has been paid as interest for both houses. So how much is going to be in interest for self-occupied property we can claim, and how much interest we can claim under let out property? How much under self-occupied and how much under let out? Who will tell how much in self-occupied and how much in let out property interest could be claimed? Komalpreet is saying 75,000 each. Arun is saying 75,000 for let out only. Abhishek is saying half. That might mean 75,000 for both. Shoaib is saying self-occupied nil. Swati is saying 75,000 each. That's why I wrote over here for all of you, section 115 BAC we are applying. Exams are just 1 month away, students. Just 1 month away. And if still you are giving your answer without thinking about the provision, this is really dangerous. This is not acceptable now, okay? In case of section 115 BAC, we cannot claim interest under self-occupied properties. Have you not read these provisions, or you have gone through with this provision, but you are not applying when I am asking? If I'm asking something, that means there must be something tricky would be like there. Why I'm not asking how much should be deducted under standard deduction? Why I am not asking how much municipal tax we need to deduct? If I'm asking some question from you, that means there is something tricky. So please think about the provision. Under 115 BAC, interest is not allowed from self-occupied property. So there would be no interest allowability, and there would be 75,000 interest allowability. Okay, these kind of mistake you are going to do in your examination, you will regret it. When you will come back to your house and you will realize, oh God, what I have done. You won't be able to sleep for days. So please think about before you answering. So after this, my income from house property, self-occupied property value would be 0, and let out property value would be 122,750. That is my income from house property. Clear? Now point number 3. He owns an industrial undertaking established in a special economic zone. So for a special economic zone, there is a deduction under section 10AA. So 10AA deduction is allowed under section 115 BAC or not? चलो अब तो मैं सीधा पूछ लेता हूँ. 10AA is allowed under section 115 BAC or not? The answer is no. Well done. एक काम करो तुम लोग. There is a one suggestion from my side to all of you. Just take a paper of your register and as per chapter wise, write it there. What is allowed in 115 BAC or what is not allowed? Like in case of salary head, what exemptions are not allowed under section 115 BAC? In case of house property, what is not allowed under section 115 BAC? Only write down what is not allowed. Do not write what is allowed. Just write it down what is not allowed. In case of PGBP, section 35 AD does not allow, 10AA deduction not allowed, So on. In case of capital gain, what is not allowed in section 115 BAC? In case of clubbing, what is not allowed? 1500 rupees deduction exemption for minor child, not allowed in section 115 BAC. In case of set off, house property loss set off cannot set off from other head, and even it cannot be carry forward. In case of deduction, what is the deductions not allowed under section 115 BAC? It's a very important advice from my side to all of you. Kindly take a chart paper and please chapter wise you can make 3, 5, 6 columns in which you can write it down what is not allowed under section 115 BAC and paste that chart in the wall of your room. Just paste it. Do not put that chart into your register back or notes. It just stick that chart on any wall of your room. And you just need to look at that whenever you have time for 1 or 2 or 3 minutes. So after 5 or 6 times, when you are going to look at that for 1 minute or 2 minutes, that would be printed in your brain memory. That is called photogenic memory. It's a scientifically truth that if you're looking something regularly like 3 or 4 or 5 times, your brain take the screenshot of it and you need not to recall or remember that. You already know what is written over there. You can try that. So please go for it. Do this thing. If any provision you feel it is very difficult to understand, just write it down on a chart paper, on a paper, whatever you want, and just stick that on the wall. Clear? So that was a suggestion from my side. Okay, so 10 double is not allowed. What are the other information? Total turnover was undertaking was 400 lakh, which includes 150 lakh from export turnover. Out of the 150 lakh, only 120 lakh have been received in India up to so and so. So all this information is section 10 double A deduction, which is not allowed under 115 BAC. We will take this information when we will calculate tax as per section, as per optional tax regime. This industrial undertaking fulfill all the provision and the PGBP of this industry was 40 lakhs. So the PGBP income with all this information with full paragraph, we just need to take 40 lakh out of it. Clear? Any other information? Let's see. He employed 20 new employees. This is for deduction section 80 double J double A. So we will take it when we will complete our income information. Now there is an interest deduction, interest income information has been given. 30,000 and 40,000, saving deposit 30,000 and fixed deposit 40,000. This is my income from other source. Now there's a capital gain information has been given in the question that he has sold a vacant land on 1st December 23 for 15 lakh. This point, or I guess we have solved in capital gain provision also. When we have in the revisionary class of capital gain, I guess we have discussed this question. Yes, I remember we have discussed it. So the stamp duty value, etc., was 16 lakh. The land was acquired. So stamp duty value does not exceed 110% of consideration. So the consideration would be remain 15 lakh rupees. Then index cost of acquisition. For that, the cost of acquisition we need to take, and the cost of acquisition because the property belongs to before 2001. So the FMV on 1st April was 4.8 and the stamp duty value was 4. So we will take the 4 lakh rupees because FMV cannot exceed the stamp duty value and the actual purchase price. Actual purchase price was 2.80 plus registration expenses 0.12. So 2.92. So whichever is higher will be your cost. 4 into the 348 upon 100. So that would be my index cost of acquisition 13.92 lakh. So my capital gain would be 1.08 lakh. So now we will take this information on the other sheet so you can understand clearly. So from the information we have seen that we have income from house property, that is self-occupied, it was nil. From let out, it was 1,22,750. Then we have PGBP income. that is 40 lakh from SCZ unit. Then we have capital gain income, that is 1.08, that is 40 lakh. This is 1 lakh 8,000. Then income from other source was 70,000. The total GTI would be 4300750. Now deduction only 80 double J double A would be allowed in this case. How much deduction would be eligibility under section 80 double J double in this question? So here is the information. He employed 20 new employees for the said industrial undertaking during the previous year 23-24. Out of 20 employees, 12 were employed on 1st May 2023 for the monthly employment emoluments was 18,000. And others were on 1st September. So those have been employed on 1st September is employed for less than 240 days. So we will consider only those employee having more than 240 days employment. That was 12 employees. Salary was 18,000. From May they are employed. So that means 11 months salary. That would come 2376000. And we can claim 30% of it. That is 7,12,800 rupees. So that would be 30% of 18,000 into 11 months into 12 employees, 712,800. So that is the only reduction we can claim. After that, my TI would be 3587950. Clear? Now, if we need to find out income as per optional tax regime. Under optional tax regime, first of all, we are taking GTI as per 115 BAC 3587950. Now we will have income from house property, self-occupied property, 75,000 interest loss we can claim for the purpose of setting off. Then we have 10 AA deduction benefit we can claim. That would be 40. Formula is profit into ET upon TT. ET is export turnover, has been given in question 120 and 400 has been given. So deduction would be 12 lakh rupees. 80C repayment of housing loan information was given in the question. That was 80,000. double J double A, we need to take GTI. We have taken it TI, sorry. 4300750, correct. 80 double J double A deduction, that would be available 712,800. And now we have 80 TTA deduction also regarding interest. That is 10,000. So after these deduction, there is LIP also, life insurance premium paid, 40,000 under section 80C. So after all this information, the TI would be 2182950. And now we need to see whether it's ATI exceeding 20 lakh rupees. Now for the purpose of AMT, we have to calculate ATI. For the purpose of ATI, we will take TI as per normal provision, that is 2182950. Add back section 10 AA, that is 12 lakh. Add back 80 double J double A. So my ATI would be 4095750. So yes, AMT provisions also applicable. Now we have to calculate tax on AMT. tax on 15 BAC, and tax on normal provision of these acts. So after a short break, we will come back with the calculation of tax and we will find out what is the correct solution in this case. You have also time, if you within the break you need to calculate the tax, you can calculate it yourself. Otherwise, I will calculate the tax when we will resume after a short break. So, Mr. Ashok, can we go for a short break? Ashok sir, can we go? Back everyone. We were discussing the provisions of chapter number 9. This is our revisionary last class regarding chapter number 9. And this is also a revisionary class, last revisionary class of income tax law. And we were discussing MTP second question, MTP 2, question number 1. We have calculated the GTI in this question for section 115 BAC provision accordingly. Then we have calculated the ATI also and the income as per optional tax regime also we have calculated. Now we are moving on to calculate the tax on these respective incomes. So first of all, the tax in case of section 115 BAC. That is my TI under section 115 BAC. So if we'll calculate tax on this, on long-term capital gain of 1,08,000, the tax would be 20%. It would be 216,000. The balance income tax would be at about 3479950. The balance income tax as per slab rate would be 743985. The total tax would be 7,65,585. Then 4% cess would be there. So that will come to 30,623. My total tax would be 796,208. And if we rounded it into the multiple of 10 rupees, it would be 796,210. So that is my section 115 BAC tax. Now, tax as per optional tax regime would be calculated. Again, same on long-term capital gain at the rate of 20%. That means on 1,08,000, it would be separate. And upon balance value, that was 2074950 as per the slab rate, the tax would be 434985. Adding capital gain tax, it would be 456,585. And the cess, that is 4%, that would be 18263. So the total would be 474848. And if we take it a multiple of rupee of 10, 474850. So that is tax as per optional tax regime. Now on AMT, we have discussed the tax rate is at the rate of, what is the tax rate on the AMT ATI income? That is 18.5%. So the 80 tax would be on 757714, and there would be no surcharge. The cess would be 30309. So that would be 788,023. The multiple of 10 rupee would be 788,020. Now we have find out all three taxes as per section 115 BAC, as per optional tax regime, and as per AMT. So now what should be the final tax liability? The final tax liability would be tax as per section 115 BAC, that is 796,210. Under normal provision of Act, the tax under optional tax regime, that was 474850. And as per AMT, the tax was 788,020. So I've explained to you that first of all, we have to compare with optional tax regime tax with AMT tax and what we should take it out, higher or lower. What was the provision we have discussed? In the last class, we have discussed that out of these two, we have to take the higher one. So the higher one is 788,020. Now this should be compared with section 115 BAC tax value. And now out of these two, what should we take? Higher or lower? Correct. The lower we should take. So this is 7,96,210. This is 7,88,020. So that would be my final tax liability, 788,020. So AMT tax need to be paid. So this is the final tax liability. And if somebody asks what should be the total income, so now the ATI would be regarded as our total income. So the ATI was 4095750. So that would be treated as my ATI. Now we will have tax credit also. The question would ask, is there any AMT credit? The answer would be yes. There would be AMT credit in future. We can use an AMT credit would be tax paid as per AMT less tax as per normal rate of tax. That was 474850. So the balance is 313170 is AMT credit, which can be utilized for next 15 assessment year. And we can utilize it only in that year in which your normal tax liability would be higher than the AMT tax. So in that year, you can utilize the AMT credit, and that would be the difference between those tax could be utilized as AMT credit. I hope it is clear. That was MTP part 2, question number 1. Now we will discuss MTP question number RTP, MTP. Okay, this one. This question number 1, Mr. Amit. Now, Mr. Amit, having business of manufacturing of furniture, gives the following trading and P&L account for the year ended 31st March 2024. Now we have to see what is the requirement of this question also. First of all, we have to find it out that compute the total income and again tax liability, which is most beneficial for assessment year 24-25. Now again the concept is for which is most beneficial. So that means again for the most beneficial purpose we have to find out the tax liability as per section 115 BAC and optional also, and if the ATI exceeding 20 lakh rupees, then we have to apply of course the AMT provision also. One by one, first of all we will discuss the question. So now you can see the question is regarding Mr. Amit having business of manufacturing, etc. We have been given sale, closing stock, freights. So PGBP part needs to be solved in starting. And now you can see there is warehousing charges. A very interesting thing is there. Warehousing charges is section 35 AD concept is also applicable in this question. And you would find the details of that section 35 AD in definitely in additional information. That is point number 6. You can see Mr. Amit had purchased a warehouse building of 20 lakh in rural area for the purpose of storage of agricultural produce. This was made available for the use from 15th July 23, and the income from this activity is credited in the profit and loss account under the head warehousing charges, etc. So these information has been given in this question. So there is 3580 provision also. This is going to be discussed over here. Pooja is saying, sir, if in adjustment it is given that 1.5 CR is withdrawn by the assessee, then what will be the treatment of this adjustment? There would be TDS concept might be applicable in this case, Pooja. I am not, yes, of course, TDS concept will be applicable in this case. So that information might be given in the question that TDS has been deducted, or if it is not deducted, then you would apply the provision of section 194N. And when you calculate the tax liability, you can take the benefit of that TDS amount. Okay. Shoaib is asking, sir, if 115 BAC would be lower, then would have been AMT credit. No, AMT credit would not be available in that case because tax would need to be paid by section 115 BAC. And it has been specifically written that if section 115 BAC is applicable, then AMT provision would not be applicable. Okay. So let's discuss this question. So I'm going to solve this question. First of all, of course, we need to take section net profit. That is section 115 BAC concept need to be applied. Net profit has been given in question. It is 5085000. It has been given in question, and then as usual, we will apply the provision from the credit side. Income tax refund, of course, 30,000 would not be form part of our business income. Only the interest component from that income tax refund would be my income from other source. The full value need to be removed from here. That is 30,000. Then we have warehousing charges. Now, section 3580 is not applicable. 3580 is not applicable in case of 115 BAC. So there is no separate treatment of warehousing charges in this. That warehousing charges would be the part of my normal business profit. But when we will solve this question as per optional tax regime, then of course this warehousing charges would be excluded and section 3580 would come into the force. But for now, that would be not the case. Okay. So warehouse charging would not have any treatment. Then the debit side, you can see the debit side is opening stock, not an issue. Purchases, freight, gross profit, bonus to staff, rent of premises, advertisement, everything seems to be the part of business expenditure. Bad debts, interest on loan, not depreciation is there. So depreciation would be as per accounting provision. So we have to add back this depreciation. It would be 107,250. Goods and service tax demand paid, not an issue. Salary, miscellaneous expenditure, all seems like the part of business expenditure. Income tax refund includes 4570 of interest allowed. So we have disallowed the full income tax refund 30,000. Then why 4750 has been separately given? What is the use of this 4750? Because we have disallowed the full 30,000. Then why that is separately given? Correct. Abhishek is correct because this 4570 would be my income from other source. So for calculating GTI, we need to know the component of interest in that income tax refund. So we would need not to do anything under PGBP head because we have already excluded full value. But under income from other source, this should be the part of my interest income. Clear? Salary includes 30,000 paid to his brother, which is unreasonable to the extent of 5,000. So what should I do with this? Does this 5,000 having some treatment? Deductible or add back? It is disallowed. So what is the impact of the disallowed of this? It should be add back, because payment to relative would be add back if it is excess of market value. Advertisement expenditure included an amount of 2,500 paid for advertisement published in the souvenir issued by a political party. So any payment to political party would be, of course, disallowed. So 2,500 is going to be disallowed. Miscellaneous expenditure include an amount of rupees 1 lakh paid to a political party by check. Again, this miscellaneous expenditure also disallowed, because anything paid to a political party would be disallowed. Now, goods and service tax demand paid includes an amount of 5,300 as penalty for delayed filing of return, and 12,750 towards interest. So interest is allowed, but penalty could not be allowed. So this 5,300 again going to be disallowed in this case. Now, Mr. Amit had purchased a warehouse building of 20 lakh rupees in rural area for the purpose of storage of agricultural produce. This was made available for use on so and so, and the income from this activity is credited in the P&L under the head warehousing. Because section 35 AD does not allow under section 15 BAC. So BAC does not give the benefit of deduction under section 35 AD. So if it was a normal case, so this full value would be allowed as deduction under section 35 AD. But under 15 BAC, it is not allowed. So we can claim the depreciation on it under section 15 BAC, not a deduction. So a depreciation of 2 lakh rupees can be claimed. Clear? Now, depreciation as per income tax has been given in question is 65,000. So we will deduct that 65,000. And other information. Interest on loan includes an amount of 80,000 paid to Mr. Mohit, a resident, on which tax was not deducted. So TDS has not been deducted in this case. So what should we do? Is it allowed? Is it not allowed? Just a second, students. So TDS in this case should be allowed. If TDS not deducted, then this expenditure need to be allowed, disallowed, or what is the provision? Because the payment has been made to resident and it is other than salary, and the provision says 70% would be allowed, only 30% would be disallowed in this case. So 30% of 80,000 would be disallowed. That means I need to add it back 24,000 over here. So all the information has been used for calculation of PGBP. So the PGBP would be in this case 5034050. Now we have income from other source also given, that is interest 4570 in the question. So that would be my GTI. It would be 5038620. And because no deduction is allowed under section 80C to 80U, except those three deduction, which is not mentioned question. So that would remain my total income also, 5038620. So need to calculate tax on this value. So that we are going to do on the next page, the separate sheet. So the GTI and TI was 5038620. There is no special rate of income, so we can calculate tax, and the tax would be, and there is very interesting thing. One thing I have told you earlier also, because the income is slightly exceeding the value till which there was no surcharge. And that was 50 lakh. Up to 50 lakh, there is no surcharge technically, but now the income is 50 lakh, 38,620. So that is slightly upward from that amount till which there was no surcharge applicability. So if this is happening, this is a very interesting thing. Suppose in the examination, if you are solving this question, so might be you will not consider that and you will skip that marginal leave concept and you are going to calculate tax on this value directly. So this question will definitely make you understand that this kind of mistake you will not repeat in examination. So in this case, now we have to calculate as per the provision of marginal leave. So step one, we have to calculate tax on 50,38,620 as per slab rate. That would be 133,275. That is including surcharge. Surcharge of course, 10% after including this. And up to 50 lakh, if you will calculate this, the income would be 12 lakh. Then the difference of income is 38620 and the difference of tax is 132,745. The difference of these two would be marginally. That is 94125. This marginal leave is going to be deducted from the tax liability. To find out our final tax, it would be 1238620. This is a very good question for your revision part before your examination. Please mark this question at most important because this kind of question will you need to recall in the examination that if the income is slightly over these values, so we have to calculate tax as per marginal relief concept. And I believe that most of students will not do that. They are going to calculate tax without applying the marginal relief concept. So 4% says that is 49545 and we have value that is 1288165. Multiple of 10 it would be 1288170. That is a tax as per section 115 BAC. Abhishek Singh is saying even now I forgot to compute. Yes, it will happen. So in my opinion, please mark this question very, very important. So when there is an examination, like your examination is supposed tomorrow. So before that, today, you have to revise at least this question also. Other important question also, but this kind of question also need to revise. Because if you will revise this question, then definitely you will not do this kind of mistake in the examination. And if somebody have done this kind of mistake, then all his hard work for solving this question would be lost because at least 3 or 4 marks lost in this question because he won't be able to calculate the correct tax liability. So you can see how smart examiner was in all these kind of question. You can see we have solved MTP second question, we have solved May 2024, we have solved November 23. Whenever there is GTI question, there are special category rate always there, whether it's capital gain, whether it's casual income, whether there is some other rate applicable, always. Only in this question, the whole income is comprises only slab rate of income. So that you won't recall the slab rate structure, you just forgot about other calculation because if you calculate more special rate of category of income, so you might recall the provision that, oh, there could be a marginal leave concept also, like same marginal leave. If there is some agriculture income also given, then you should remember that we have to apply integration provision. So in this question, examiner does not include any special rate of category of income. They just provide you the full income having the slab rate. So you skip that marginal leave concept and in that hurry, you calculate the tax upon this 50 lakh rupees income and write down your tax liability. So that is a very smart step by the examiner. Now we have to calculate income as per optional tax regime. Under optional tax regime, the GTI as per 115 BAC, we will consider 5038,620. Now the depreciation on building, which is covered section 35 AD, we need to add it back because we will not claim the depreciation. We will claim the full deduction of it. And warehousing charges, which is part of this PGBP, will be separately calculated. It would be a separate business entity, not being part of this business. That was 22,50,000. So normal PGBP income would be now only 2988,620. And there would be a other business. So this was business one. And now that would be PGBP 2. That is section 3580. So in this case, the receipt is 22,50,000 and deduction would be complete 20 lakh rupees building. So 2,50,000 would be second PGBP income. This is my total PGBP. And we had deductions. The total of these two would form my GTI. That is 3,238,620. Now let's deduction of payment to political party would be allowed as deduction under section 80 GGC. That is 1 lakh rupees. And now my TI would be 3,138,620. Now, because this is less than 50 lakh rupees, so now marginal leave concept need not to be applicable in this case. The tax on this case as per slab rate would be 7,54086. The cess would be 4%, 30163. Total tax would be 7,84249. This is my optional tax regime tax. Now we will calculate the ATI. ATI say calculate income or TI as per normal provision of the Act. That is 3,138,620. Then add back section 35 AD deduction if any claimed. Yes, we have claimed 20 lakh rupees reduction. And you can claim depreciation on that deduction. That would be 2 lakh rupees. So net 18 lakh would be add back. So that would be 4,938,620. AMT tax would be 18.5%. There would be no surcharge as income is less than 50 lakh. 913,645. 4% cess students, that would be 36,546. Total income tax would be 950,191. Round off 950,190. Now, which should be my tax liability? So we have now again 115 BAC tax, that is 1,288,170. Normal provision. Under normal provision, we have optional tax regime. That tax is 7,84250. You need to convert it in the multiple of rupees, 10 rupees. And AMT is 950,190. So whichever is higher we need to consider, and of course the higher is AMT tax. And we need to compare it with this, and the lower would be my final tax liability. So 950,190 is final tax. Comparative ATI would be called my TI. This is my TI 4,938,620. Now AMT credit. So 950,190 minus 7,84250. The 165,940 would be my AMT credit. I hope it is clear. Again, when we solve these kind of question, and when you will see the solution as we discussed, you can see that how long the solution was. Even this is the tax liability part only. The remaining part, the calculation of GTI, etc., we have discussed in the that other page. So you might be feeling a little bit worried that how I will be able to solve all this thing in the examination. So this is same for all students, first of all. Okay, understand this thing. This is not only for you. This question is framed for you, and for the other student, it is easy. It's not like that. It is for all students, same question in all this country. So this is similar to everyone. It's all about what is your approach to solve these kind of paper. It does really matter what is the approach of solving a paper. I have told you in the last session, I guess, in the session of on 16th of November, that there are some specific tips you have to do these things. So that is also very important, the approach, the way you attempt the paper. So you should not get nervous. Again, whenever you will see this kind of question in your examination, it is definitely going to make you nervous, but you should control your nerves. You should think that first of all, I have to calculate the correct GTI. Before that, I have to calculate the correct income from house property. If it is in question, I have to calculate the correct capital gain. It's a very interesting thing that in these kind of question, the separate income calculation is very, very easy. You won't find a capital gain huge calculation in total income calculation computation in question, because the huge part would be PGBP. So everything else would be very easy, like deductions, house property, the capital gain, the income from other source. Those content would be very, very easy. So please try to figure that out first. And if you are able to calculate correct PGBP, house property, other source, capital gain, and if your GTI is correct, then you would be very ease, because you know that almost 60% part I have solved correctly. And a very interesting thing, definitely in the examination, they will ask you to calculate this under section 15 BAC and optional also. So if you have correctly find out the GTI as per 115 BAC, then for optional tax regime, it is very easy. You need to take that GTI directly and you need to deduct certain extra deduction or other provision adjustment. Like 2 or 3 adjustment you will do and you will get your GTI as per normal scheme, that means optional tax regime. Then apply the deduction and you will got your TI. Again, AMT is very easy. Calculating AMT, ATI for AMT purpose is very easy. If you have find out TI as per optional tax regime, remember to follow this process. First of all, always calculate income as per 115 BAC. Then optional tax regime. Do not go for AMT. It would be really difficult. First of all, optional tax regime, that TI will work for calculation of AMT. Then your AMT ATI will be calculated. So if you are able to calculate the GTI, TI, and ATI of all these categories separately, correctly, then you are actually going to gain at least 85 to 90% marks. And the remaining tax calculation would be really easy. So just the approach that you should not feel that I am not able to solve this question. No, when you will see that question, it is a huge question having multiple provision and you might feel nervous. Just control your nerves. That's why I am saying that in the examination hall, when the paper is starting distributing, our heartbeats is going out of control. So that is a part of nervousness. So in that position, if you try to attempt any difficult question, it would be more difficult to solve because you are already nervous. And if you are going to solve a compulsory question like this or any huge question, complicated question, that would a probability of more mistakes because you are already physically and mentally nervous. So to make that calm, it is important that attempt easy question first. So that will calm your nerves and that will boost your confidence. So if in the first 1 hour, you will be able to attempt 30 marks question paper in which you are sure that you will get 22 to 23 marks. So it will calm your nerves. Your nervousness will be down and you will be more confident. And when you will reach at the last 45 minutes of paper and you have left with this compulsory question and 2 or 3 more small question. So you will be able to solve this compulsory question very easily without any nervousness. So there would be a less chances that you will do silly mistakes. That's a practical thing. I am telling you with my experience. I have never attempted compulsory question number one initially in any paper from my intermediate level till final level. I've never attempted that question firstly. I have always attempted that question in last. Somebody has given me this suggestion when I was starting CA. So somebody, my senior told me, who was a CA, that please, I can just suggest you one thing, that in the examination, do not attempt first compulsory question initially, just attempt it at the last. And I follow that guideline till I cleared my CA final examination, and it really worked. It really, really, really worked. Okay, fine. So now we are going to solve. Somebody will ask me to solve question number 15 from your study material, test your knowledge question. So let's solve that question. So who was asked for that question? The last class somebody was asking who was that student? Is she here? Question number 15. That is, I guess, last question of test your knowledge. Swati was asking. Okay, Swati. So we are solving that question. It is a very interesting question also, having AMT, etc. provision. We have already discussed two or three same kind of question AMT, but let's solve that question also. This one, Swati, na? Mr. X, an individual set up a unit in a special economic zone. Okay, so read that question, everyone. It is Mr. X, an individual, set up a unit in a special economic zone. So section 10AA will come into the force. Okay. Financial year 1920. And you should remember that for initial 5 year, in this kind of question, the initial 5 years, the deduction would be 100% of the profit. And then for next 5 years, it's 15%. Okay. For production of washing machine, the unit fulfills all the condition of section 10AA of the Income Tax Act 1961. During the financial year 22-23, he has also set up a warehousing facility in a district of Tamil Nadu for storage of agricultural produce. It fulfill all the condition of section 3580. So we have two extra deduction, 10AA and 3580. And we all know that under section 115 BAC, we are not allowed to take the benefit of section 3580 as well as 10AA. Capital expenditure in respect of warehouse amounted to 75 lakhs. So in case of section 3580, the expenditure has been 75 lakh can claim as deduction. But it has been specifically written that for land, we cannot claim the deduction of this expenditure. So technically, we can only claim 65 lakh rupees deduction of section 35A. The warehouse become operational with effect from 1st April 23 and the expenditure was 75 lakh has been capitalized. Okay. Now the profit of that organization has been given in question, export turnover has been given, domestic sale has been given, profit of that 35 AD has been given in question. और हमसे पूछा क्या जा रहा है, हमसे पूछा जा रहा है कि भाई इनकम टैक्स निकालो इंक्लूडिंग एएमटी. ओके, लायबिलिटी ऑफ मिस्टर एक्स फॉर बोथ एज पर 15 बीएसी और रेगुलर प्रोविजन भी लगा दो और एडवाइस करो उनको कि भाई उनको डिफॉल्ट में जाना चाहिए या नॉर्मल में. सब कुछ पूछ लिया उन्होंने, एवरीथिंग दे हैव आस्क्ड. ओके, so now we will solve it first as per section 115 BAC, then as per optional, and then we will calculate the AMT provision. Let's solve this in a separate sheet. Okay, so It was in previous year, 2019-20. 115 BAC we are applying firstly. So there would be no deduction of 10 AA and 35 AD. Clear? So first of all, the special economic zone profit has been given in question is 40 lakh rupees. So that is my PGBP income. In case of warehousing business, the warehousing receipt has been given 105,000,000, 1 crore 5 lakh rupees before allowing any deduction under section 35 AD. So we cannot claim the deduction of 65 lakh under 115 BAC, but we can claim the depreciation in this case. So depreciation on 65 lakh would be 10%. That would be 6,50,000. So technically the profit from section 35 AD business would be 98,50,000. No other income information has been given. So that would be my GTI under section 115 BAC, 1 crore 38,50,000. Clear? Now tax as per normal provision, that would be 3855,000. Surcharge would also applicable at the rate of 15% because income exceeding 1 CR. So that would come 578250. So tax would be 44,33250. 4% cess would be 177,330. ये सारे सॉल्व करे मैंने अपने रजिस्टर पे सारे क्वेश्चन. Even I can show these solution on Excel format also, but I believe that if I'll show you these solution on Excel format, so that won't work that much. So whenever we write, and if I'm writing that solution and if you are looking at it, that really helps to understand the provision one by one. So if I'm going to solve it in Excel format and there are formulas I have written and I'm saying, okay, now this has been reduced, this has been added back, this is going to be the tax liability, that won't work that much for the students in comparison to the way when we write it down and you are watching it, that exactly what we are adding, how we are applying cess. Even I have the direct calculation of tax also. When I solve, I can directly write it down that the tax including cess is this. But I want to just bifurcate that each and everything with you. So in the examination also, you need to show it like this. And you will understand each thing separately that, okay, this is tax, this is surcharge, this is my cess, etc. Okay, so we are doing the postmortem of the question. Each and everything has to be shown separately. So that tax liability now would be 4610580 as per section 115 BAC. Now, as per normal provision, if we solve this, then as per special economic zone, the profit has been given 40 lakh rupees. Now, as per section 10 AA deduction, we can claim this that 40 lakh into ET upon TT. So 32 lakh deduction we can claim from section 10 AA. And remaining profit would be, the first PGBP of this business would be 8 lakh rupees. Now section 35 AD concept, the receipt has been given in question was 1 crore 5 lakh rupees. Now out of this receipt, we can claim deduction of building which has been capitalized, and that is 65 lakh. Complete deduction we can claim. So the remaining profit would only be 40 lakh rupees. So my GTI in this case would be 48 lakh. as no other deduction information has been given in the question. So this will be my GTI as well as my TI also. And the tax as per normal provision would be 1252500, and there would not be any surcharge because it is less than 50 lakh. So direct 4% cess would be there, and this is 50,100. So total would be 1302600. This is my tax as per normal provision, optional taxation. Now the AMT will come into the force. Now for the purpose of AMT, we have to take the TI, that is 48 lakh. Deduction under section 10AA will not be under AMT provision, so 32 lakh would be add back. 35 AD deduction also not allowed. So 65 again need to be add back. But we can claim depreciation on 65 AD deduction part. That would be 6,50,000. So that is exactly the same as under section 115 BAC. The same GTI and TI would be here. 138,500,000. This is ATI. Now the tax on this ATI would be 18.5%. So that would be 2562,250. Then surcharge will be applicable 15% as per normal surcharge provision exceeding 1 CR. So that would be 384,338. Total value would be 2946,588. Now 4% cess, so it would be 117863. Total tax would be 306,4451. In a multiple of rupee, it would be 306,4450. Clear? Now we need to compare this. So tax as per normal provision and AMT, whichever is higher. So the higher is AMT tax, 306,4450. Now need to compare it with 15 BAC lower. So again, this is 306,4450. This would be the tax. This income will be called your TI, and the credit, MAT credit would be 1302600. The MAT credit is 1761850. That would be your complete answer. I hope it's clear, Swati. So that will be the case. Question number 15 was there. So we are about to end this session, but my suggestion to all of you is same. Just revise as much as you can. Be positive all the time. It will happen after 15, 20 days. I have told you in the earlier class also, you might think, you might feel that you have forgot each and everything. It will happen. But it is normal. It is going to be with each and every students who have done his preparation or her preparation seriously or sincerely. So it was happened with me. It will happen with you also. It will happen with each and every student who is not overconfident. So if you have prepared well, believe in yourself. These are normal things, that examination pressure, that nervousness, it will happen. Just try to handle it, because in our profession, it has been framed, this course has been framed like this, that you have to take this pressure, because in the future when you will be in a job or even practice, you have to face these kind of pressure. So they are preparing you for the future. It's not only about the academic, how good you are, it's all about how you are good as a person also, how you are able to handle the situations also. So even if you feel right now that you do not have that much time for revision, you have to do it at least. Do not think about skipping this examination or skipping this attempt. No, please don't do this. At least try this, because you will learn something with this also, and you never know that if you are going to study hard, it might be in the end you will get the success, as you have seen. If you are interested in cricket, etc., so you must have seen this, a test match is going on. India was all out for 150 only in Australia test match, only 150, but they believe in themselves and they all out Australia on 104. And in today's inning, India did not lose any wicket. We cannot expect that this could be happen. That in the first inning you all out for 150, and in today's inning India does not lose any wicket. It's just that you should believe on yourself. Just believe that you have done well preparation, you have worked hard. Just try to revise all those things. The numerical paper, the numerical question should also revise by you. So that fear of result is separate thing, Swati. First of all, your work is karma. You have to do what you need to do. The first thing is not thinking about the result. You need to give best whatever you can do in your examination. Then think about the result after examination. So if you think your first paper is not going well, even then prepare yourself for your examination, for the second paper, for the third paper, as normally. The fear of result, etc., you will take after the examination completed. It happened with me also. Let me tell you, when I was giving my final examination, Group 1. So my first paper was accounts. And it was so bad. It was so bad. Matlab, I don't know what kind of silly mistake I have done. So when I came back to house, and I thought, okay, I won't able to clear this paper, of course. So there was choices that either I should skip this examination, other papers, or I should try. But I believe I just did my best. It was not a good day for me. It was not my day. So might be I solved those questions wrongly, which I would have been solved easily in no other day. So it was not in my control. So I did what I can do. But now for the future papers, I will do whatever I can do at my best, and then we will see what is the result is going to be. And no, it happened. I got 40 marks in that account paper, so I cleared that paper, and my group also cleared, because in other paper I have got good marks. Even when the second paper was SFM, and I'm so scared of that paper, I never understood what kind of calculations in FM. So I was planning that I will score very good in account paper and I will score a little less in like 45, 50 in SFM. I would be happy. But because my accounts paper is so bad and I was so scared of that FM paper, then I decided, okay, now fine, I will solve this FM paper, either do or die. So I solved each and everything, and I got highest marks in that FM paper out of those all four papers. In my time, it was four papers in finance. So it was like this. Be positive. Just keep studying, and everything will be fine in future. So we will shut this class. And before that, I would like to share a very interesting thing. When I was a student, when I feel depressed, I feel that नहीं हो पाएगा. It's very difficult. बहुत बहुत problem होती थी. तो I just मैंने एक अपने लिए कुछ lines लिखी थी. It was my own lines, and मैंने वो कभी भी किसी को share नहीं करी. When I was a student, until that when I become a CA, and after that becoming a CA, even I never shared these lines with my live classes students also, face-to-face classes. But when I joined this BOS faculty in 2021, I start teaching as a BOS faculty. Then that was my first batch of CA Inter, and I guess in that batch I had shared these lines first time. So मैं वो शेयर आप लोगों को भी कर देता हूँ, शायद आपको थोड़ा सा, अरे वाह, अरिंजन इज देयर, ये दिल की धड़कन कहता है. How do you know these lines? Because it was like 3 years back I shared these lines. Have you seen that class? Because I don't think so these class on YouTube now. These classes have been removed, I guess, from YouTube, because these are very old classes. Yeah, so I shared these lines. So I would like to share these with you also if you have not listened. So it would be in Hindi. So I guess you all are that much familiar with Hindi that you would able to understand what I'm trying to communicate. So these lines were like this. इस दिल की धड़कन कहती है उम्मीद अभी भी बाकी है. So whenever you feel depressed, sad, और आपको लगे नहीं हो रहा है, तो just trying to say these lines and that will work. इस दिल की धड़कन कहती है उम्मीद अभी भी बाकी है. ये रात कभी तो गुजरेगी, वो सुबह कभी तो आएगी. एक दिन ऐसा भी आएगा, एग्जाम का टेंशन उड़ जाएगा. और एक दिन ऐसा ही आएगा, मेरे नाम में सीए जुड़ जाएगा. तो एक दिन ऐसा भी आएगा, एग्जाम का टेंशन उड़ जाएगा, एंड बिलीव योर सेल्फ, एक दिन ऐसा ही आएगा, मेरे नाम में सीए जुड़ जाएगा. So please be confident, be positive, and we will see each other someday when you will be a CA. So all the best for your examination, and my best wishes to you. And I believe you can do it. You will do it, and you can do it. So do not lose trust on yourself. Okay. So Ashok ji, if you have any query, students, you can ask me. And if you do not have any query, then we will ask for closing of this session. Okay, you're welcome, everyone. Agana, Sutapriya, you're most welcome. And bus study hard. That's the only thing you can do. Okay. So I guess there is no more query. All the best, students. Take care. Bye bye. So Ashok ji, can we close the session now? Ashok ji, thank you so much.